Hi, Spence here. I wanted to give you a quick set of feedback on the results from your team's performance and expose you to some of the information about your reports. So after every round, it's going to be wise for you to look at the reports to gather information about how your team did in comparison to others, but then there's a lot of information in here just about how you did as a team and how effective you were in doing what you wanted to do, how efficient you were. So there's a lot of great information, and it's going to be wise for you to learn how to interpret and look at this information. One of the first things you can look at when you are clicking over in this area is the scorecard. This is a very quick way to look at how your team did in comparison to others. And right now, well, the top one will be how you did that specific year. So let's say you're in the 6th year, it'll say year 16. How did you do in year 16? And then down at the bottom, it'll be the cumulative performance on rounds 1 through 6. So that's what this is all about, just to give you a general relative setting. Then one of the other main areas that I would be recommending that you look at is going to be down here, these comparative competitive efforts. So if you were to click on that, and right now we are looking at the North America information, you can see that they also have specific and different information for all 4 world regions. But since we really largely had to focus on North America in that first round, going to just focus on that. So you can see where you are, your numbers, and how they compare to your competition. And one of the more valuable things to be looking at certainly has to do with market share. So down here you can see somebody was all the way up to 18% market share and somebody was down to 8.6. One thing that I like to do in this is just see where I am in comparison to others and then try to figure out why that happened. So if by chance I were team C and I'm saying why did we have more than 10% less market share? Well, let's look. Okay, right here. Our shoes are $68, theirs are $38. Okay, given everything else being equal, there's a good reason why more people will want to buy a $38 shoe than a $68 shoe. But let's keep looking. All things are not equal. So you've created a 4.4 star quality shoe. So this number right here is your quality. It's style and quality is what this is all about. And this competitor has created a 9.6 star shoe. That is extremely high-end shoe. So all other things being equal, people would prefer to buy a high quality shoe than a lower quality shoe, especially when it is only $38 compared to $68. Now this largely will explain the market share differences. Now just to be clear, because they sold a lot of shoes doesn't mean they made any money. In fact, at a 9.6 star shoe, they paid a lot of money per pair of shoe for that. And they only brought in $38 in revenue per shoe. There's a good chance they lost a lot of money on that. Over here, it's a very different story. Charging a lot of money and a moderate quality shoe. Anyway, so the point of this particular report is to see where you are and compare it to others that are fighting for sales as well. So this would be an extremely valuable and one of the first screens that you might be looking at. Also, just to let you know that over here is the industry average. So if you take all of these prices and the average this year was $50.37. This was the average quality, and you can go down, and so that's the average, and you can compare yourself to the average. And then over here it even tells you how you compare. Okay, so there's that screen. Actually, before we leave the screen, another thing I want to point out has to do with this number right here. That negative 920 means that this team, the B team, could have sold 920,000 more pairs of shoes. that negative and this being in yellow means that this was the amount that was lost due to stockouts. So you basically did not make enough shoes and or ship enough shoes to North America because your demand, all of these numbers created a demand for 4 million pair of shoes that you could have sold, yet you only really provided 3.1 million. So there's that minus 920,000 you could have sold. All of these pluses means that, well, let's say for example, yes, this H team, they ended up having a demand for 1.8 million pair of shoes, given all of this stuff. However, because this team over here had a shortage, there were a lot of consumers that were looking for shoes. They should have been met by the B team, but they weren't. So then these consumers are looking for other places to buy shoes, and you ended up being able to sell 133,000 more pair of shoes than really you should have. But you benefited because one of your competitors shorted out. So that's what the plus or the minus means here. Another piece of information on this screen deals with, let's see if I can move down there. Yes, right here. This strategic grouping, strategic map, this shows where your particular shoe in North America relates as a number of models that you've created, as well as your price and quality. So for example, the G shoe in North America is a fairly high-end shoe, and they've got quite a few models. So it is in this quadrant. The B has very few models, and it's a moderately high quality shoe. If you look at the F shoe, you can see that it is a low-end shoe and a medium number of models. Now, one thing that'll be happening, and we'll see over the rounds, is that if a lot of teams are all glommed together, then you're all fighting for the same competitor. There is wisdom in trying to set yourself apart, your shoe apart from what everybody else is doing. So there can be some benefits in this. And this down here at the bottom of the screen can give you just a nice visual of where your shoe lies in comparison to your competition. And just to look at some of this, see that F shoe is a 2.5 type shoe. The G shoe is a 7.8. Yes, that's G. Is a 7.8. And then the B shoe is up here as well. Other reports that you can be looking at that have value, you can look at your stock price. So this is the first year, and you can see that some teams are at $11, other teams are at $34. Obviously, the higher the better, and this grid will fill in over the years, so we'll be able to see the trends. You've got also your credit rating, and this information here has a huge influence on whether banks are very excited to loan money to you. So if you have a C minus, then you're going to have to pay a pretty high interest rate when you want to get a 5-10 year loan. And to tell you the truth, for many organizations and businesses, something like that would probably be too expensive, and they would not be able to invest in the future if they had to pay that high of an interest rate. As opposed to a team that might have an A rating, their loans would be much less expensive. Now remember, your performance here, I pretty much told you what to do, so I hope nobody feels good or bad about their performance. It was largely dictated by Spence. So as we move in phase A and you're more in control of your destiny, then pride or embarrassment can show and rear their heads. Let's see what else. Financial statistics, you can see who's making net profit, the B team. Ooh, that's a great example. The B team, if I remember right, they're the ones that had the 9.6 star shoe and only charged $38. Well, they sold a lot of shoes, but push comes to shove, they did not make any profit there. It's a good example. They might have had a big market share, but lost money. So at each of these reports, there's that help area that is also going to be able to explain the type of information and what it means. So I recommend and encourage you to be looking at that. Now for the next round set of decisions, largely what I want you to be doing is to be going into your areas and just trying to improve your performance. Working as a team, trying to improve your performance. All right, your task, which is fairly straightforward, after, again, looking at some of the reports, trying to interpret that, is to make some decisions that you think will improve your status. So here is what, I'm in Team A right now, so here's their situation, and there's a variety of things to be doing, adjusting what you want to do for North America, and I'd probably recommend that you largely focus on what's going on in North America, but if you want to delve into some other areas, you can definitely be doing that as well. Making your decisions in various screens, and again, you're assigned certain expertise areas. Ideally, you will have a special knowledge that will help you interpret and decide what to be doing for these areas. I certainly recommend that you try to coordinate with your teammates and get on the screen at the same time with at least one or two of your teammates. Remember, the collaboration screens are down here on sharing the screen with your mouse and entering numbers only once. This will allow you to be talking to each other, and as I understand, the Chrome browser is largely and usually the best one to be doing that. I also want to remind you that at your corporate lobby, there is this link right here that will help explain how to collaborate in BSG. And I think it's about a 2.5 minute video, so I'd encourage you to be doing that. So the goal here is for you to be entering some numbers, doing some predictions at each of these screens. As you change numbers up here, usually there is stuff that's going on down here. And one example would be when that team manipulated these things to create a 2.5 star, their production costs were probably about $20. I would guess that that team that created the 9.6 star, that their production costs could have been in the mid-30s. So again, when you create higher quality product, it's going to cost more, obviously. Usually what you want to be able to do is to charge more to make sure you cover those costs, yet hope still have enough customers that you are overall going to be profitable. I'm going to change the date of the second practice round being processed to this Thursday night, and that is the 17th. And then I'll have a data reset to probably Friday night or something like that. So you'll be able to look at the data and the reports the entire time on Friday to just gain some awareness there. Overall goal, gain some more familiarity with the various decision screens, make some predictions as you change things here on what's going on down here, make some of those predictions as you change things here also with what is going here. Ideally, you're going to be starting greater collaboration, communication with your teammates. It will be helpful for you to be experimenting with the stuff that's going on down here and to go to it, and results will be due. Make sure you do a lot of saving before that Thursday midnight deadline.